You're looking for some clarity? Well, you came to the right place. Okay, because this morning, basically this reading is going to be focused on the day-to-day. You know what I'm saying? So it makes it really easy to kind of like, what we ask is that people kind of pay attention to what's happening during the day, especially after receiving clarity, right? Because when we honor clarity for what it is, and we start navigating from clarity, it changes our life, right? Because we're actually following a more promised way, a more informative way, and a more conscious way of being than your normal rat race that everybody does. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we're doing a little bit something different today. You know what I'm saying? I'm not usually up this early, but you know, we're all turning new leaves in our lives, you know? And I would say that being stagnant and not doing anything is probably the worst thing that you can do about anything right now. You know, especially with this energy. Being in Aries, you know, welcome in, Megan. You know, you have all these planets in Aries. Let's say you got at least 7 planets in Aries that are kind of like encouraging that energy in one way. And Aries can be really confusing because it can be really impulsive, right? It could be very ego driven. It could be very, very prideful. It could be very boastful, right? But if you actually look at the ladder of that and you slow things down, of course, Saturn is playing a good play in that. It's Saturn, this Aries telling you to rush, intensity, go, forward movement, while Saturn is telling you, hey, but if you're going to do that, slow down. You know what I'm saying? And focus on what it is that you're doing and pay attention to what it is that you're doing. Because if you don't pay attention to what it is doing, it's going to run you over. You know what I'm saying? The intensity of the day will carry you away, is what Spirit just said. And I think that's really important for, you know, guidance or people looking for direction or clarity on how to navigate a situation or navigate the day to help you with whatever situation it is that you're going through. And Spirit is saying that this is a release day, right? It's a release of anxiety. It's a release of fear. It's a release of not getting you what you want. It's a release of understanding that what you're doing is you're giving away to get what you want. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are looking for understanding, but I think a lot of people are also going to run into a stalemate today. Like there's going to be something that's going to shift. There's going to be something that's going to change. And it's in everybody's lives is what I'm hearing here. So don't be surprised if you get some really profound news from somewhere, something, or someone that kind of like rocks your emotional state, tries to make you unstable, has you questioning yourself in one way or another. Personal review is what's also coming up with this message and this energy that's associated with it. You know, I got the Tower out here and the Hangman. So normally when I'm looking at these things, you know, when I see these things, it looks very unfortunate, right? But we're not meant to focus on the misfortune of a message, right? We're supposed to look at the opportunity, the blessings, and the fortune, because we're consistently looking at the misfortune, which is what human behavior naturally does, or where we're, you know, kind of like society automatically goes driven to. We forget that there is an opposite that is also present simultaneously while this is happening, right? So there's a positive to every negative and a negative to every positive, right? You know, and we have to pay attention to those things because the law of duality is a universal law. You cannot have one without the other, and everything exists now, so everything happens simultaneously, right? But that's how perspective helps us understand these things if we don't know it, because we're going to experience it if we don't understand it. You know, it might run us over a couple times before we say, oh, that's what it is, or that's what he's talking about, or that's what they're talking about, right? Here it is. You know, this is coming to a kind of like a stalemate of an old energy that can no longer be sustained, right? This is asking us to focus on ourselves. This is asking us to pay more attention to the divine self, us. You know what I'm saying? What we are, God's creatures connected to the all one consciousness, the source, the universe. It's in our DNA, fam. You know what I'm saying? There's no denying this shit, all right? Because 73% of our DNA isn't even listed. And the other 73% of everything that they don't list that we are is from this planet. It's from this star system. It's from this galaxy. It's from the Milky Way. You know what I'm saying? So on and so forth. So, you know, perspective is key is what we like to say a lot in this camp, you know, because when you start utilizing these perspectives and these understandings, especially when it comes to navigating situations in your life, you do it in a more conscious, informed way where you're not fucking mustered by the energy and swept away, and you have the ability to stay calm even in intense situations. And intensity is what's happening right now. It's basically the theme, right? Everything's carrying you forward. Everything is intensifying to carry you forward. And you can almost feel that by stuck emotions, stagnancy, not feeling stable at all, you know, or trying to find stability. You know what I'm saying? You're looking for that knowledge. You're looking for that wisdom. You're looking for that clarity. But you're not going to find it unless you navigate it from an understanding space, right? This is the energy that's present. And this is why people are being encouraged to focus in on themselves, look at their intuition, tune into themselves. They are feeling things. We know we are feeling things, right? But how that's actualizing in everybody's life is different, right? So maybe we can put some information on that to help people understand how to navigate these energies, because the Tower card is something that they keep showing to me. And it's like, hey, if anything happens today, focusing on yourself is probably going to be the primary thing to do, right? Don't put up with anybody's bullshit. Mind your boundaries, mind your grounding, mind your stability, check your alignment. You know what I'm saying? Pay attention. Focus to what's going on around you, because everybody's being affected by something outside of themselves. And when we learn how to focus from within, we can see those things outside of ourselves and not necessarily be affected by it in a way where it's detrimental to our energy, our alignment, our awareness of any situation that's happening, whether it's work, whether it's family, whether it's community, service, going to school, getting in the car, going to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll notice that a lot of us don't even realize how complacent we can actually become. It's like, oh, I don't want to go to work today. And then you carry this feeling with you. You have literally made a declaration to the universe that says, I don't want to go to work today. And then you actually have to maintain that baggage for the majority of the day until you have enough caffeine, until you motivate yourself to change the energy, until somebody pisses you off and you get excited and gets you out of that energetic line or that pathway, right? So, you know, understanding these things, you know, is the key to guidance, is what Spirit is saying here. So that way you don't fall off the tower. You kind of like float down like a feather, you know, with whatever's happening today. So we're going to have something profound happening in our lives today. And I'm not exactly sure. I know it's something coming for everyone in one way or another. I know it's not necessarily unified like a world event, but I honestly feel like today's a day to pay attention, because this could be a good thing or a bad thing, or a bad thing that we can see the good in, or a good thing that we cannot do nothing but focus on the bad. And I kind of like, that's the message right there, is that there's like 3 pathways right now that you can approach your life with. And the middle is what Spirit is saying here. It's probably better not to go left or right at this moment, and stay right where you are and pay attention on whether you need to go left or right, or continue to do nothing, right? You know, because stagnancy is key here. When we're not doing the things that we need to be doing for ourselves, not necessarily from like a surface level responsible space, but nurturing oneself while taking care of the responsibilities that we may have, whether we're parents, whether we're going to school, whether, you know what I'm saying, family, community, service, job, whatever. Those aspects of yourself are something that we need to pay attention to or pour into, especially if that's something that is literally sustaining us in a way where it allows us to have a certain quality of life. The more love we put into things right now, the more we're going to receive. But don't have an expectation of what you're going to receive, because the only thing that you're going to receive is disappointment. And that's what they just said, you know. And that's what the Star card represents here, you know, in this message, is like, continue to be mindful of yourself, continue to be mindful of the situation, go with the flow, pay attention to your guiding light or your North Star right now, because these things are actually happening to you. The awareness is happening to you. The clarity is coming, because now we're intending to move past whatever shitty energy that we've had to move past in these last couple of weeks, to allow us to be something more, to allow us to be freer, allow us to be more liberated. You know what I'm saying? And understand that life doesn't wait for nobody, and God's clock is something that we all need to pay attention to. And I believe it's the astrology that's also associated with this tower. And, you know, basically the stars is what they're showing me that is going to be kind of like really interesting right now. And they're showing me that these planetary, like, kind of like ingress is what they're saying, you know, by the early morning here. And if you're not feeling it right now, by the early morning here, you should notice that everything kind of flipped, everything kind of changed, everything kind of moved. Something's different is what I'm hearing here. And that's the time, that's basically the time that pouring into yourself is of the utmost importance, you know, because this is actually something that you have the ability to navigate your life with. You know what I'm saying? But not from a place of ego, because this is also fire. This is also ego. This is the emperor, right? But if you enter your emperor-like state and you take these, you receive these divine messages, or you receive this intuitive information, and you kind of go with it. You know what I'm saying? I.e., the collective message that we are giving to all you here. If you notice throughout the day, all these things are happening simultaneously in one way or another, but you're the observer of all these things, or you're the participant. So one of these two things are happening, or they're going to be happening simultaneously. So when, you know, kind of like the early morning ingress, what they're saying is going to be that change in the energy. It's going to be that switch. It's going to be time for a little bit of demotion. It's going to be time for a little bit of you paying attention to yourself, regardless of what you're doing, and being more passionate about whatever it is you're doing, or more passionate about resolving whatever it is that came up at this time. You know, and I wouldn't be surprised if this happens pretty quick. You know, even after this message, there's a strong realization. There's probably even a trigger moment that might make you feel uncomfortable, you know, that make you feel unsettled. And it's important to monitor the feelings that come up if that do happens. You know what I'm saying? Also with joy. You know, because that energy is freeing, is what the spirit just said. You know, the joy is freeing, is what they say. But if you basically take this energy and you go the wrong way with it, or you kind of, not that you make the wrong choice, but you kind of look at it from a very negative aspect, you're going to go on that ride too. And that's how they show me that there's a separation of people going left, people going right, or, you know, no choice at all, which is also an option, whether you want to engage in the emotional energy, engage in the energy and the intensity. You know what I'm saying? And how you approach that is completely up to you. And this is what this tower represents in this message. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's be mindful. Take a look out from people. Take a look out for people that don't necessarily align with you. They kind of give off a vibe where it makes you feel uncomfortable or unsettled. Just understand that those are things that you're picking up outside of yourself. They're also using sensitive and empath here, intuitive as well. So, you know, this is... spiritual gifts are on blast right now, fam. So if you guys are having a hard time with your spiritual intuition, or you're having the hard time taking the next step in your life, understand that basically it's time to hang from the tree of knowledge, all right, and gain some knowledge before you react or respond to your present situations right now, is what I'm also hearing with this message.